live. We're going to double check, make sure everything's coming through.
That's what I'm doing right now.
That's standard. Wait for people to climb in. Should be. Yes, we are live.
Yes, we are.
Perfect. Okay, which me?
Whee!
We got that awkward silence in the beginning of the live, as we normally do. It's all good. So today we have Unravel the Dusk. And of course, I got the wonderful Shae here, as per usual. And
With
this
the dog barking sounds. Sorry.
and this is book 2 in the Blood of Stars series, which is the book after
Spin the Dawn.
thank you. I knew it and then it was gone. So we decided to do this second one since this is only going to be a duology, so it kind of made sense to read this second book. And so we got the continuation of this is of course going to have spoilers for the first book. So putting that out there, and then after about like 5 seconds into this live stream, we're going to have spoilers for this book because that's just how we roll. But we have the continuation of Maya as she's now under this curse because of creating the dresses in the first book. She's slowly becoming a demon, and we get to see that start to play out and what the political landscape looks like for the country she's living in. And the whole point of the first book was trying to create peace. This is the book where we figure out if that is actually going to be a thing. And so I'm going to turn it over to Shae so we can get her first initial thoughts on this book and everything that it entails.
Well, I'm probably bad to start with, but that's okay. Um, so when it comes to this book, I so greatly loved the first installment of the book. I was really excited for book 2, and I feel like this book kind of gave me whiplash. I felt like we had such extreme highs and such extreme lows, and so many like breakneck speed impact moments that it made it really hard to just kind of settle in and enjoy the story. I felt like the stakes were almost too high compared to the first novel in this one. I mean, I understand that we needed to have it a little more high stakes than the previous novel because of the whole demon aspect that we're dealing with in the race against time in that manner. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like I understand, but I almost wish this series would have had another book to give it room to breathe. This book needed to breathe. The story needed to breathe. We needed the pace to come back a little bit. Or even if it just had like 50 pages more to add an extra 5 here and an extra 5 there, like just to kind of make it not feel like it's go, 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 and then stop. Go, 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 and then stop. That was my biggest struggle with this book. And I feel like our characters almost went kind of two-dimensional as opposed to three-dimensional. They just became these caricatures almost of the characters that they were in the previous book. And typically you would want in your second book to flush out your characters, not flatten them out. And so I struggled a lot with this book. Can you tell? At least
Yeah.
I finished this one on like the Four Dead Queen or the Dead Queens Club. I didn't finish that one. I did
Yeah.
finish this one.
There is. I actually made this comment to Jeff. Is like, how come every other read we are kind of hitting this wall of.
No.
But there is something in this book where we lost a lot of that character development that really built up in that first book. That I mean, we had the what was his name, Eden.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
a
The
major
guy.
player.
I
Yeah, he
think
was a
his name's
major
Eden.
player. He was the enchanter in the first book. He was
Yeah.
he was the right hand man, and so we got to see a lot of screen time. And he had this like air of mystery and this very intriguing personality that I kind of really liked in the first book. But here, we just completely lost that.
Yeah,
I mean,
he like poof, went away.
he became,
I'm like, where'd he go? He was
yeah.
part of what I loved so much about the first book. Like, I needed him.
He started to feel a little bit more like a reflection of Maya rather than a character of himself, if
Right.
that makes sense.
And
Because we
I
spent
think
so
that's
much,
probably the best way to describe it is that all the characters kind of got muddied into one.
yeah,
There wasn't really defining characteristics about anybody anymore.
right. Became all about Maya and her internal struggles and how she was viewing the world. So we didn't necessarily get a full view of everything that was going on because everything was reflected off of her and felt like just an extension of her. And you're right. I mean, this book could have been spaced out so much better because we had several really major battles go on in this story and they lasted a page or a paragraph. And so it didn't really feel like
Right?
anything happened. And it felt too easy.
It felt like everything happened or nothing happened.
Right.
Like there was it was those extremes, and that's why this book kind of failed for me.
Yeah.
And that sucks because I loved the first book so much that I was very much looking forward to this. And I mean, this cover is stunning beyond stunning. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you expect something good to come out of this, and all we got was kind of a chaotic mess.
Yeah. Well, and it
I'm
pulls
being
it.
like super harsh about this. I'm sorry. I
Well,
really didn't like hate it. I was just disappointed.
yeah, because I mean, it had some really nice pools of mythology in it with like the phoenix, and I think there were several other stories mentioned within it as well. I mean, you had the thread of fate that they talked about, which
Hmm.
kind of made you understand her connection with Eden a little better. But it didn't play with it enough, I think. It was very like surface level kind of. And the fact that we had this whole buildup of these dresses in the first book and then they were completely pointless in this book.
Right? I was so like, what is the point of the first book then?
She went through all of this junk and then what was her name? Like,
Gets turned into a demon, and
yeah.
none of it matters.
And Lady Sonara, she I the, I know you were supposed to kind of like her character, but the way she
But yeah,
treated,
no.
yeah, the way she treated Maya and the fact that she made Maya go on this whole thing in the first place, and then she blamed
Right?
Maya for absolutely everything that happened afterwards after she accomplished what she was set out to do. And I'm like, you don't see that any of this is your fault as well? I mean, your partner died because of what you were doing.
Right.
And you ran away and left everybody else to deal with the mess that you created after blaming other people for creating that mess in the first place. And so I really struggled with her character, especially since she becomes the ruler at the end and everybody's like, she's this amazing person. I'm like, no, she's not. She is selfish in the first place. I mean, and I kind of get it because she was forced into a situation she didn't want to be in. And I understand that. But at the same time, you have a whole bunch of other people who are sacrificing their own happiness for peace. And you can't suck it up just a little bit.
Right? The level of selfishness that she has is just like top tier, like evil villain level
Mm-hmm.
of like selfishness. And I'm like, but you're not exactly the big bad here. So this doesn't make sense.
Right.
If you were the big bad, sure, but you were not the big bad in this. So,
Yep. Yep. I I do have to say though, to the one thing I really did like that came out of this book is Kenton and the maid. What was her name? I can't
oh
remember her
yeah.
name. But I because at the very Amy, I think it's Amy,
Yeah,
Ami
that
or
sounds
something
right.
like that. Um,
Uh huh.
at the very beginning of the book, she's like really, really mad at Maya for lying about who she was and all that kind of stuff. But she still goes on this journey with Maya. And then she comes to go to war with everybody else, and she meets Kenton, and you can see that there's something that's going to be sparking there. And I like that they hinted to that at the end because I thought that
Yeah.
was cute. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Give me a spin-off series that's slow burn about them. I would live for that.
We got our baker, and then we've got Kenton, who is really bad at business.
It it's the romance book lover in me that would just like thrive on a book
Uh-huh.
about them. Like I just would. That's just the reality of it, and that's okay. I fully accept that I am a romance reading trash person.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I fully embrace my romance reading trashy heart.
Um,
And I'm finding more and more like historical romances that have like fairy tale retelling or other retelling elements to them. So I'm like, I might have to choose one for one of these months.
and I
On
that
like a busy month when we can just blitz through it really
oh yeah,
fast.
that would be, especially maybe like at the
Maybe
beginning of the
November,
year.
December.
Uh, yeah, I could see that fitting in.
Yes. Anyways, that was a sidetracked moment there.
Well, it's like I don't.
But I don't really have much more to say about this one other than I was disappointed and the pacing was crap and the characters flattened out and kind of got muddied together. Like the Phoenix thing at the end was fine. It was nice. Kind of saw it coming. Wasn't that surprised.
Because you got hints of
And
it throughout the whole
this
thing,
the
right?
symbolism was beautiful and I will respect it for that. All in all, I gave this book like 2.5, 3 stars, somewhere in that realm. I don't even really remember what I gave it on Goodreads.
Yeah, and
Check out my Goodreads if you're interested.
I was
So
sitting
yeah,
around
I was
too.
just this one was just a letdown for me. I was just sad.
Yeah, and I vaguely remember us struggling a little bit with the first one, because I mean there was a lot of good elements in the first one, but we
Hmm.
were we were kind of on the fence on the direction it could go because there was a lot of promise on that cliffhanger.
Right. It could have been really good, or it could have been this.
Yeah, because I mean we could have definitely played with the internal struggle of what Maya was going through. Um, just wish we hadn't
And but we
lost our other
didn't. Like
characters.
we didn't really even get to see that internal struggle, that internal fight with the demon. Why? The opportunity was right there. Why didn't we do it?
Yeah. And is this, I can't remember if this is her first,
I want to say this is her debut series.
and that's what I was kind of thinking. And so I'm wondering
I shall Google it.
if that's, she's starting to get a feel for what the playing field of doing a series like this feels like, and how to keep that development going and building that depth.
Yeah, this is her first like series on her own. She has done a couple of the Twisted Tales for the Disney series recently.
Okay. And I can see
She
that
she
because,
did the Mulan one and she did the Cinderella one.
okay. Yeah, I can see that because this does have the same kind of
But
vibe.
I gave up on the Twisted Tales series after the Beauty and the Beast one because that was a hot mess and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm done with the series.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
no, I've picked up a couple of those, and
I read
I
the first
can't.
3 and that was enough for me.
Hmm. There's a
And I'm glad people still enjoy them. Like kudos to them, but man, I
it,
was not okay with the changes they were making. They felt wrong. It was not okay.
mhm. It's hard to take something that well known and that nostalgic,
And that iconic.
and
Yeah.
yep, and try to completely change it, and not always keep true to the characters that people assume that they know. Because we each build up those characters in
Yeah.
our head, so it's hard to appease people who have.
Yeah, well, the kind of retellings that I struggle with right now, or even mentions in books, are Hades and Persephone, because there's the Hades and Persephone lore where Persephone was kept there against her will and was unhappy about being there with Hades, And then there is the other lore where it was her choice to be with Hades. She had a lot of power. She is the only one equal to Hades in the underworld and was very much a being making their own choices. And I favor that where they choose, they don't feel trapped and oppressed by it. And I think that's just interpretation of the lore. And so I always struggle because example, Midnight Sun makes a lot of references to Hades and Persephone, but it's the bad, oppressing
Mm,
kind of Hades and Persephone references. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Persephone made her choice to be there. That is how I will always feel about it. And so I just would get frustrated at stuff like that. I'm like, no, that's not how it goes. Get it right. So when I find good ones, I promise I always share them out. It's like, read this. But,
yeah.
you know.
No, and I kind of relate to you because there's something in that story that Persephone has to be a very strong character to just
To
a
even like spend time with Hades, let alone like
right,
conquer his heart.
and then
Let's be real here.
being willing to split her time between the underworld and
Mm-hmm.
then her mom, because even her mom, let's be honest, is a very overpowering being.
Oh gosh, let's not
So I
even
mean,
with
growing
that.
up with that is probably why she can deal with Hades in the first place.
Right. This is why I take the Lore Olympus route of Hades and Persephone because it is amazing.
Uh-huh.
If you're not reading Lore Olympus on Webtoons, like you must. It is the best thing ever. It makes my heart very happy. Like there's even just the use of color is used in a way to enhance the storytelling and I thrive on it. It's so good. But anyways,
Yes, that was our tangent.
putting my fangirl heart away.
But as you can tell, we really like retellings, and we like them when they're done well. And
Yes.
it has to have some depth to it and some promise to it, and it has to feel like there was a lot of research and love in it, and that got a little lost.
A lot lost.
Yeah, yeah, because we did a buddy read of this, and we both
And we had Lindsay with us too, so it was the three of us. And
yeah.
we were all like, what is happening here?
Mm-hmm. So it was
Craziness.
a mutual. I mean, and if you enjoyed this story, I mean, it like I said, it's got a lot of good things to it. It's just I don't think our cup of tea. We like things that are very filled out and have a lot of breath to it and does honor and
Yes.
justice to whatever it is taking on. So I think that's
Yeah.
that's our take on this one.
I think so too. I think that's our full thoughts, including a tangent about Hades and Persephone because I couldn't stop myself. So, anyways, shall we discuss our pick for next month?
Oh, yes. So next month, in the honor of fall coming to be a thing, we are going to do a House of Salt and Sorrow. So both Shay and I have already read this book. I actually have a full review
Uh
on
huh.
my channel about it, but we both love this book so much that we wanted to do a reread of it.
Uh huh. And
And
especially after this, we wanted something that was safe, that we know we love, that we just can sit and fangirl about with you guys next month.
mm-hmm.
Because we love fall time. We love gothic things. This is very gothic for a fairy tale. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So this is a darker retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. And
It does have some slight horror elements to it. So if you can be triggered like me with those kinds of things, do tread cautiously. I can say that I was okay. So you just have to like tread lightly. I
yep.
promise. Like the story's really, really good. It's worth it. But if you start to like not feel okay, we're not going to be mad at you if you put it down because we totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
It is not for everybody in that regard.
Very much. Yeah, because like I said, it's a very dark, gothic, nautical esque type of read.
Yes,
Just to kind of
obviously from the cover.
throw that out there because I really, really, really like this
It
book.
definitely it takes place on a rocky, cliffy coast. Like
Mm-hmm.
we thrive on the setting of this book.
Yeah.
Like
You get a lot
both of
of
us were
that.
just like, yes, more like this, please.
Uh-huh. You get a lot of that kind of culture woven into this story, which just adds to the dark, dreary atmosphere of the whole thing, which is why I think this is perfect. I also think this is one of my top watched reviews as well, which is kind of funny. Um,
It was actually one of my, I believe it made my top of 2019 list last year because I
I can
enjoyed
see
it so
that.
much.
I can very much see that. So, if you haven't read this book and you've been looking for an excuse to read this book, you should read this book with us because it is phenomenal. And I'm excited to get back into it. I'm excited to get those
Expect us to be talking
vibes.
very in depth and in detail next month because I've wanted to kind of deep dive it since I did my initial read because when I first read it, I like inhaled it. I was so like enthralled by it.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's going to be a little more paced out, going to be taking notes as I go, kind of a situation. So I'm very much looking forward to this reread.
Yeah. Just see any of those
And
connections.
I'm going to tab the sucker up when I'm done.
Oh, I can see that. I can see that. I'm
I'm excited.
excited about that reread, so I hope you guys will come enjoy it because yes, I am ready for fall. I am ready for that kind of atmosphere. Yeah, I mean, if you guys saw
We're ready
any,
for the cooler weather, the fall colors,
I
that
had
more gothic fall atmosphere. We're just ready.
I had a pumpkin spice latte this morning just because they're starting to come out, and I'm just there. But otherwise, if you haven't subscribed to Shae, you should go subscribe to Shae because she is awesome and amazing, and
Hi.
she always has the best manga recommendations. Because look
Because I
behind
read
her.
way too much of it. It's a thing. Oh,
Otherwise, I believe our next we will be doing the live show over on your channel. I think the
correct.
27th of September.
That's what my brain is remembering. If I look at my calendar. Yes, the 27th. That
Okay.
is correct.
So, and I am working on being better at reminding myself to be social about reminding the rest of the world that these live shows are going to be a thing. I know I fail at
Yeah.
social media a lot of times, but that is my goal is to start putting those reminders out there sooner than the day of. Someday I'll get the hang of this. Um, but other
I'll
than
be
that,
better at reminding her.
but other than that, do you have anything else that you would like to let everybody else know that you're up to?
I don't think so. I will be deep diving a manga slash anime series on my channel in the next while. That might be starting in September or October. I can't remember. It depends on how much time I've got to get them done. But yes, there will be a deep dive coming soon.
Nice. And for myself, I have a whole bunch of arcs that I want to plow through this next month, and some of them have those eerie fall vibes that fall right into line with the House of Salt and
Oh yeah.
Shadow.
Speaking of arcs, I'm actually going to be doing Christmas in September because I have 10 Christmas arcs.
So if you want Christmas, you can go check out Shae.
Christmas,
If
come hang with me. April's going to do all the fall
yeah,
stuff.
if you
And I
want
forgot to
Ghost
mention,
and
I am doing Fall into Manga Love,
oh
which is the
yes,
readathon that I host in regards to manga. It will be a week-long version this year for fall. It's starting on September 21st, the first day of fall, and will end on the day of the live show. So if you guys want an excuse to read some manga for a week, come join in. Like you are always welcome.
Other
So
than
yeah.
that, I don't think we have anything else. So we will let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at, possibly morning. And I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.
Bye.